research scientist Galen Erso and his family are in hiding on the planet Lamu. Imperial weapons developer Orson Kriddick arrives to force Galen into completing the Death Star, a space station super weapon capable of destroying planets. Galen's wife Lyra is killed in the confrontation while their daughter Jyn Erso escapes and is rescued by rebel Saw Gerrera. 15 years later, cargo pilot Odirrup defects from the Empire, taking a holographic message recorded by Galen to Saw Gerrera on the desert moon Jedha. After learning about the Death Star from an agent at the mining colony Ring of Caffeine, rebel intelligence officer Cassian and her frees Jyn from an Imperial labor camp at Wobani before bringing her to the rebel leader Mon Mothma, who convinces her to find and rescue Galen so the Alliance can learn more about the Death Star. Cassian is covertly ordered to kill Galen rather than extract him. Gene Cassian and reprogrammed Imperial droid K2SO2 Jedha, where the Empire is removing Kyber crystals from the Holy City to power the Death Star, while Gerrera and his partisans are engaged in an armed insurgency against them with the aid of blind spiritual warrior Turret in Wait and his mercenary friend Baze Malthus. Jean makes contact with Gerrera, who has been holding Rook captive. Gerrera shows her the message in which Galen reveals he has secretly built a vulnerability into the Death Star and directs them to retrieve the schematics from an Imperial databank on the planet's Kara. On the Death Star, Krennic orders a low-powered test shot which destroys Jedha's capital. Jean and her group take Rook and flee the moon, but Gerrera remains to die with the city. Grand Moff Tarkin congratulates Krennic before using Rook's defection and Security League as a pretext to take control of the project. Rook leads the group to Galen's Imperial research facility on the planet Tudu, where Cassian chooses not to kill Galen. Jean makes her presence known moments before rebel bombers attack the facility. Galen is wounded and dies in his daughter's arms before she escapes with her group on board a stolen Imperial cargo shuttle. Krennic is summoned by Darth Vader to answer for the attack on Tudu. Krennic seeks his support for an audience with the Emperor, but Vader instead orders him to ensure no further breaches occur. Jean proposes a plan to steal the Death Star schematics using the rebel fleet but fails to gain approval from the Alliance Council, who feel victory against the Empire is now impossible. Frustrated at their inaction, Jin's group lead a small squad of rebel volunteers to raid the data bank themselves, arriving at Skara on the stolen Imperial ship, which Rook dubs Rogue One of. Disguised Jean Cassian enter the base with K2SO while the other rebels attacked the resident Imperial garrison. As a distraction, the rebel fleet learns of the raid from intercepted Imperial communications and deploy in support. K2SO sacrifices himself so Jean and Cassian can retrieve the data. Turret Mai is killed after activating the master switch to allow communications with the rebel fleet, and Malthus dies in a battle shortly afterwards. Rook is killed by a grenade after informing the rebel fleet that it must deactivate the shield surrounding the planet to allow the transmission of the schematics. Jim and Cassian obtained schematics, but they are ambushed by Krennic, who was eventually shot and wounded by Cassian. Jean transmits the schematics to the rebel command ship. The Death Star enters orbit above Scare Off, where Tarkin uses another low-power shot to destroy the compromised base, killing Krennic. Cassian and Jean. The rebel fleet prepares to jump to hyperspace, but many of the fleet ships are intercepted by Vader's flagship. Vader boards the rebel command ship and attempts to regain the schematics, but a small starship escapes with the plans on board. Aboard the fleeing ship, Princess Leia declares that the schematics will provide hope for the rebellion.